Welcome back, everybody, to Little Less Fear podcast. Today, I would like to introduce Dennis McCurdy. He has decades of experience in business, investments, real estate, and personal development. He started from nothing, a small town boy with no college degree, just a desire to succeed and, most importantly, work. He has always been on the learn as you go plan or fire ready aim. He believes that almost everyone can be successful or, at a minimum, more successful than they are, and I agree. It is magic or rocket science. He's down to earth and he works at keeping things simple. And he just finished his third book called Suck It Up, Cupcake. Stop screwing yourself and get the life you want. Welcome to a Little Less Fear podcast, Dennis McCurdy.
Thanks for having me here. It's great to be here from the East Coast. You're on the West Coast, right?
I am in the West Coast. I'm in Pasadena, California. Where are you at?
Pasadena, Sturbridge, Massachusetts, so central Massachusetts.
Wow, I've never been there. What's the weather like over there right now?
Right now, it is absolutely a perfect fall day. It's around 74. It's sunny. There's no humidity. It's just one of our perfect, I think if you ask any New Englander, they're going to tell you fall is the best season.
Oh, I can only imagine. Over here in California has been brutal. I mean, we're talking 3 digits and 54% humidity. It's been awful.
Yeah, we had one of our hottest summers in decades this summer too.
You too. What was the highest temperature over there?
We probably had like 95 is the highest with 100% humidity. So it's the humidity the humidity kills you.
Dennis, I've never been in 100% humidity. I don't even want to know what that.
Well, let's say 99 because 100% it rains. But you wake up in the morning, it'll be 70 degrees. You say, okay, I can live with that. But then it's 98% humidity. And oh my gosh.
Oh wow, I can't even imagine. Just instant sweating, huh?
Instant. In fact, I was born in Monterey, California.
Oh, so you're very familiar. Wow, Monterey is beautiful.
It is a beautiful city, yeah. Unfortunately, my parents moved me out to Kentucky when I was 6 months, so I didn't have much to say about it. So.
Oh, someday I'll know what the East Coast is like. Someday soon, I can imagine. So,
fall's
Dennis,
the best time.
What's that?
I said fall's the best time.
Oh, I'll remember. I'll always remember that. Actually, one of my best friends, she's looking into the New England states right now. She's going to be moving over there with her husband, so I know I'm going to be traveling soon.
All right.
Dennis, tell us about your incredible journey. This is your third book already. What got you here?
I was just a small town kid, no real mentors, no nothing. My father's idea of success was to get a job at Monsanto and work in the factory. That was his idea of success for us. And so I came out of the service and went to college for 1 semester and decided that wasn't for me. I met a couple guys that were doing real estate, people I knew, real estate and insurance actually. And so I was like, bye books, hello buildings. I was going to be a real estate typhoon, a big win, right? A tycoon, but things didn't work out right away. And then I got into some other businesses and started, like most people read Think and Grow Rich and Norman Vincent Peale, Power of Positive Thinking. That kind of started me on my journey toward learning more about personal development. And I've always had that attitude of, hey, if they did it, I can do it.
Sure.
And that's really that kind of the attitude you got to have. I mean, and again, I remember you were talking to Ryan Linder a few weeks back, and he was talking about finding things that fit your personality. And I'm a big believer in not putting a square peg in a round hole.
Right. Yes. Thanks for that. Thanks for listening in. Yeah, incredible.
Yeah. So he's, I thought he had made a lot of great points on that whole thing. And I think that people need to, and that's part of the new book, Suck It Up, is to, figure out who you are and then fit yourself into something that's going to work for you.
And Dennis, is that how you define personal development?
I think how I define personal development is basically, number one, you have to know yourself, who you are, what your potentials are, what you're good at. And sometimes you have to overcome those negative beliefs that say, well, you're not good at this, you're not good at that, or you can't do any, the stuff, the crap you got. And put that aside and say, okay, here's what I could possibly do. So let me go in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
For example, I would never be a computer programmer. because I end up being a pipe bomber, if you can say that,
Mhm.
because I'd go crazy. It doesn't fit my personality style,
Sure.
so I mean, I could do bartending, that would fit my personality style.
Uh-huh.
Um, I've always been in sales, so that fits my style, but to do that kind of fine detail work,
Yeah.
doesn't fit me. So better to find something you do or can do, I mean, well, and do that.
So how does someone start to become aware of what they're good at and what they're not good at? Do they make a list and do they contemplate, is this something I would like to do, or do they actually go and try it, or both?
I think as you go through life, if you're really paying attention, you start to get to that whole, hey, this sucks. Uh, and I don't like that, but I like this part of what I'm doing, or I'd like to try that. Now, bear in mind, as you well know, part of everything isn't fun, no matter what job you have or what career
Sure.
path. Part of it's not good, but try to make the majority of it. And I always say too, you either do what you love or love what you do.
Yeah, I
And
like that. Either do what you love or love what you do.
right, because let's be real. I mean, people look at things like, hey, if I'm clean, every job is important.
Yeah,
Not all of them have the same skill level, so you don't get that pay necessarily, but that doesn't mean it's not important.
true.
So if you're sweeping floors and cleaning toilets in the restaurant, it's crucial because somebody walks in the bathroom, right? And it's messy or dirty, and they're gonna have an impression. So that job is important.
That's
Again, it's
so
not,
true.
yeah, it's not a high skill level, but it's still important.
Yes, absolutely.
And so I don't know, somebody wrote a book, I think, that said make your work art, or maybe it was not Simon Sinek, it was Seth Godin said make your work art.
Wow, I love that.
And so that's really cool because you have to, it's all, as you know, it's all mindset.
Oh yeah. So Dennis, how have you made your work art?
I make it art by really focusing on doing a really good job. I mean, I really, I have an insurance company, I have an investment company, I'm a certified financial planner. So I really focus on the nitty gritty. So the things that other people may overlook, to
Mm-hmm.
make sure that I'm helping the clients along that path or their path,
Mm-hmm.
and protecting them in the case of the insurance. Um, and so that gives me a lot of satisfaction.
Oh, that's amazing. And that's really amazing that you literally came from like a small town and not really having direction and now having like three incredible directions that you're able to navigate yourself through.
And that also talks about, you were talking about fitting your personality style, because doing one thing may not fit my style, but because I've kind of developed an entrepreneurial spirit, I was able to add different things. So when I started getting bored here a little bit, I could add something else that gave me energy, but still keep this going. And
That's
so
amazing.
I have my base, but I have, your side hustles.
Yeah, and that's really incredible too, as a motivator to others, that you don't have to stick with just one direction. You can go in many different directions, and if you're passionate about it, and if this becomes your art, you become really good at your art form. Just keep going.
Right, exactly. And I think a lot of times people will get this whole thing of like, you have to do one thing and get super good at it. And that's true. And it can be good for some people, but if it's not good for you, it doesn't, it doesn't work. It's finding what works for you.
Yeah, exactly. So tell
And
us about your new book. I love the title. As soon as I saw the title, I was like, I was actually cracking up, honestly. I was like, suck it up, Cupcake. A lot of people need to hear that actually. It's like the tough love attitude, but it's also the truth. It's like at one point you got to just suck it up and figure things out and dust yourself off, stand up and put on new trousers and a shirt and let's go.
let's do it. Right, exactly. And I think that's what intrigues a lot of people about the title. Every time I tell that title to somebody, they laugh and go, I'd buy that book. Well, we'll see if they do, right?
Well, I'm sure they have. And how did you come up with this title?
Originally it was going to be Release Your Break. And then I thought, I needed something that was going to wake people up and get them to say, hey, wait a second here. Because I mean, all life is about, as you well know, going through what you've been through, it's all about sucking it up.
It really is.
Yeah.
It is.
And
And I'm glad that you're not shy to say it, because there's been so many times where I want to say something like that, like seriously, just suck it up. But it sounds rude. But at the truth, it's really how you intake what's being said to you. But if you realize the message inside, it's still out of love. It's basically giving you the responsibility. You know how to do this. You know you can handle this. All you have to do is take a deep breath. Same thing as saying suck it up.
exactly. And I think as a whole country right now, we need to say, suck it up, Cupcake.
That's for
It-
sure.
Yeah, I mean, we're going down some bad paths, and I'm talking not necessarily politically, which probably is true, but more even physically.
Yes.
There's a guy named Michael Easton who wrote a book called The Comfort Crisis.
I'm not sure. I don't know about that book.
Excellent book.
Yeah. What's it called again? I'm sorry.
The Comfort Crisis.
What's it about?
Michael Easton. It's about, well, it's kind of a story journey of him going to Alaska and hunting with some guys, but the whole thing is peppered with how we've let ourselves go physically. And you can see, for example, with the COVID thing, if people, probably with American, you're probably 6 times more likely to be in a hospital than people who lived in other countries who took better care of themselves, and we just don't. And there's a TED talk by a general named Mark Hurling.
Wow.
For Mark Hurling, Herling, from 2012. And he talked about a national crisis, and he was saying a national security crisis. And what he was saying is this, that 75% of the young men and women who applied for military service were rejected. And the number one reason was obesity. And he said, of the 25% that were accepted, only 60% could pass the physical fitness test on the first day, which is a 1 mile run. Now you're talking a 20-something-year-old, a minute of push-ups and a minute of sit-ups. Wow. I'm 72. I could do that.
Yeah. Wow.
So we need to get physical education back in the schools. We need to get people walking, eating less junk, and taking and sucking it up and taking care of themselves.
Yeah, and honestly, also researching for yourself, because a lot of people these days, they really don't know what to eat or what to cook, and everything. Right. There's this really bad ingredients, and we've got all this information online. All you have to do is type it in, and
right.
What is organic versus inorganic? What is artificial versus real? And just kind of take responsibility for yourself in your own life, especially for
foods are going to make.
Yeah,
right. What foods are going to make you fat? What's going to make you, like you can do things like eggs and avocado and pistachios, for example. We don't get into the food thing, but that will actually make you feel less hungry.
Exactly. Yeah, I had eggs and avocado today, by the way.
Yeah, see? And so by eating those things, you don't feel as hungry, but you're getting good fat, good food. And that's what we need to do.
A lot of it's the education system too, that's not really teaching the population, the young population, or even college educated people the right way to eat, the things to eat. They're still using, I believe they're barely bringing in this new pyramid, whereas before it just got all messed up.
Well, you go to the kids go to school in the breakfast program, but kids who are lower income, and what do? They give them a cinnamon bun. Really? I mean,
that's not nice. That's wrong. That's all kinds of wrong.
It's cheap, but you know what? You're doing more damage in the long run.
In the long run. Oh yeah. Right. Generations to come too.
Right. I was just telling one of my staff today, I said, when I was a kid, I knew no one. I mean, I came from a small town, small school, but even in high school, was regional. I knew no one with asthma, no one with an allergy. We had 1 or 2 fat kids in the whole school. And that's the way it was.
Yeah. It's so interesting. It's crazy the way it's changed. Right. But I do see it's turnaround though. I do see some on social media now. There's a lot of younger generations, people half my age, are starting to educate people about the changes, and people are starting to catch on.
I think so. And I think, social media does a great job in helping. This kind of thing, these podcasts like you're doing and these other things are just an amazing resource for people.
There are, yes, and thank you, Dennis. So, Dennis, let's talk about how people can stop screwing themselves and get the life that they want.
Well, I think number one, again, is talking about knowing who you are and really pay. And one of the chapters is called Pay Attention in the book, because it's about paying attention to everything. What do you do? More importantly, what you don't do.
Oh, wow, that's true.
Because, we can all say, well, I do this and I do this and I do this. And I go like, well, what are you not doing that would move you forward or help you? And so what's that all about? Because that's really kind of one of the secrets.
Yeah, that's true. That's a secret. When you figure out why you don't do what you don't do, that's because there's a resistance there. And usually when there's
Correct.
a resistance there, you're blocking momentum to change.
Yes, exactly right. And you got to figure out where all that stuff comes from. And a lot of times, as you well know, it's beliefs, and beliefs create our fears, and kind of examining those kind of things. I always tell the stories when I do seminars, like about beliefs. And I say, let's suppose you're 3 years old and you're walking through a zoo, and you see the monkeys and you see the zebras and the kangaroos and all that stuff. And then you walk around a corner and you see this like cage down below you. And in that cage is a big, beautiful Bengal tiger. What does a 3-year-old want to do?
Get close to it.
Pet the kitty, right? Yeah. It's a kitty.
Yeah.
Because they don't, because they have,
kitty.
Yes. And they have no beliefs about tigers. And until they're given that belief, that this kind of animal is dangerous, then they don't know that. And so, but that's how we get our safe beliefs, but it's also how we get our not productive beliefs. One of the stories I liked was a guy, a PhD, Aaron Helmsley, and he said that when they were driving around on like a Sunday with the family, every time if they were stopped at a traffic light and some guy drove by in a new caddy, his father would go, "There goes a crook."
Oh,
so the implication, what?
All crooks drive caddies.
Yeah, and to drive a caddy, you got to be a crook and you got to be bad. So but those kind of things,
and they stick. Those kind of things will stick.
Absolutely. That whole thing, 0 to 7 years old, and that stuff's getting programmed in, hard drive.
It is. It really is.
And so I tell another story. I will say, like, people get around in the family, they talk about like, don't buy real estate. It's too risky. Why? Well, Uncle Charlie lost all his money in real estate. But as a little kid, you often don't hear the whole story.
Right.
You didn't hear the fact that Uncle Charlie was drinking and gambling and had to sell his real estate at a loss to pay the mob.
True. Right.
But but you get that whole, don't do this, it's dangerous stuff.
Yeah. So a lot of false beliefs. Yeah.
Exactly. And that creates our fears. And then bingo, that stops us. It sabotages us.
So what's another way we could stop screwing ourselves besides false beliefs and believing things that aren't true for us?
Well, I think paying attention to our self-defeating behaviors. And
an example of that.
In the book, I have a whole. Well, the simple ones are smoking, drinking.
Okay.
Not spending every nickel you make, not exercising,
gambling,
not taking the time to develop yourself because you believe maybe that you should just be having fun all the time. Oftentimes people will say to me, well, times are different now, you don't understand. And I'll say, well, did you ever hear Aesop fables and the story about the ant and the grasshopper?
I haven't. Tell us.
So back in 500 BC, now Aesop, a philosopher, wrote a lot of little stories with morals, and one of them was the ant and the grasshopper. And so the story goes, the ants are busting their butt all summer, storing up food, working on their little shelters, doing all those things. And the ant's coming around, the grasshopper's coming around, and he's playing his fiddle, and he's going, "Hey guys, come on, let's go have some fun. It's summertime. Let's not screw around. Let's go out there and do it, play some music, do some partying." And the ants are going, "You know what? Winter's coming and you better get ready." And the grasshopper goes fiddly-dee and just goes about. Well, winter comes, right? And the ants are all snug in their little ant houses, and they've got
Packed with
food,
food.
back with food, and they're nice and warm, and everything's going good. In the meantime, the grasshopper's outside, and he freezes to death.
Oh,
But that's a way we sabotage ourselves, by not taking those small steps to
right.
move ourselves forward. And one of the big things about self-sabotaging ourselves is, I think we get into this all or nothing mentality.
Yeah.
And so usually when you do that, you end up doing nothing.
Yeah. True.
So I'm a big believer in small steps, really small. And so chapter 12 in the book is called Micro Habits.
Oh, I like that.
Starting really, really small, because anytime we try to do something that's out of our normal routine, if we try to go too big, it lasts, you know how it goes, New Year's resolutions, right?
Yeah.
And so, so for example, I have a what I call a 2-5-15 rule. And that means always start something new for 2 minutes. And people laugh at me, but you don't have enough excuses not to do 2 minutes.
Agreed.
Right? You can say, well, I don't want to do it. Well, it's only 2 minutes. And so you do it 2 minutes, but 2 minutes can turn into 5, sometimes 15, and sometimes even more.
Especially if it becomes your art afterwards.
Exactly. So, a couple of years ago, I don't like doing squats. So I started doing squats in the morning. So I started doing 6. People go, 6 squats, what's that, right? Well, now I do 120 every morning
Wow.
before I start lifting weights. So, but it started at 6.
I love that, Dennis.
You have to start small.
You're inspiring me. Wow, I'm ready to do that when we get off this.
Ready to get out there and do it, right?
Yeah.
But if you keep it so simple that you can't fail, and then you'll build on that, because now it becomes a habit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we want to do, is slowly creep into those habits that serve us. And you can do the same thing, with habits that don't.
I love what you were saying, going back to the whole self-defeating prophecy. I think also the whole story that you just told about the grasshopper and the ants, what it made me also realize is that what people aren't doing is preparing.
Right.
And it takes small micro steps, as you're saying, in order to prepare for things.
Right.
So yeah, it makes sense why people give up, because they weren't prepared. They didn't take the time to make that preparedness act.
Right, exactly. And part of that may be, biological, because you think about it, a few hundred years ago, 500 years ago, we didn't live to be that old. So, people were living to 70, 80, 90, 100 years old. So we didn't have to prepare.
True.
In the Stone Age, at 14, you were middle-aged, so.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's so true.
And so go ahead.
Dennis, I'm curious, what do you have to say about procrastination?
Oh, I'm really good at it.
So why do people procrastinate? Is that the
Uh,
same because they're not prepared, or is it because self-defeating? Is it because of fear? Is it all of it?
it can be fears. It can be, we're naturally, as human beings, lazy anyway. I mean, because our brain wants us to stay safe, make babies, and save energy and protect ourselves. That's what we're here for, And so anytime anything that faces us as a challenge, we're liable to, the brain's going, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. I mean, on a level we don't hear or understand, but that's what's going on. And so that's why, again, like the 2-5-15 rule, because you do a little bit, you kind of fly under the radar of the mind going, oh, this is going to be hard, blah, blah, blah. And so we don't think long term. And so that's what really, that becomes a real problem for us. And that's why you got to keep it simple, keep it,
It's so true. The simplest you keep it in any dynamic part of your life. I mean, the easier life is going to be in general. Keep everything simple. The whole acronym, I remember in elementary school, KISS. Do you remember that? Keep it simple.
Well, yes. Well, I have a new acronym called KISSES.
Kisses? What?
Yes.
Let me write this one down. What is it?
It's called Keep It Simple, Sustainable, Easy, and Supported.
Sustainable, easy, and supported.
Yeah, supported meaning, people in your life that support you, your goal buddies, your mastermind, accountability partner. I'm a firm believer in I have it in the law of association, is that having people in our life that will give us that loving kick in the what when we need it.
Yeah, I love it. Wow, kisses is great.
So I actually have another one I call, like, make sure you have the right gang.
Yeah,
So it's the goal achieving nudging group.
I love that. Goal achieving nudging group.
Nudging group.
Goal achieving. You've got some incredible acronyms.
Well, I've had a long time to work on them.
Wow.
But that's, when I wrote my first book, I had a friend that she said to me one day, well, I'm just met her, and she said, I want to have a mastermind group. And I said, hey, I want to have a mastermind group. So we got together, and for a lot of people wanted to be in our little group we made, but most of them would show up for 2 times and not come back, or they wouldn't do anything. So I ended up, for 7 years, it was her and myself. She and I, we met every month for 7 years.
Wow.
We set our goals for the month. We wrote them down. We had a copy of each other's goals, and we wrote a check to the other person for $500 payable 30 days in advance. And if they didn't do the goals, the other person got to cash the check.
Oh, wow.
So it's accountability.
That is big time accountability.
Yeah. And, at the end, as you go along, it's not even about the check anymore. It's about, I couldn't go to her and say, I didn't do my goals.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it's about. And that's why that having that gang is so important.
Oh, yeah.
Whether it be one person or 5 people, it's crucial.
I agree. And that really becomes your family as well.
Exactly. And you can share it. And I always say, they know you enough to know when you're BSing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that they say, okay, this is the 3rd time we've heard this.
They can tell you, suck it up.
Suck it up, Cupcake. Right.
Yeah. They can tell you that.
Right. And then you need that in your life,
Yeah, we really do.
When we're young, we have teachers and coaches and our parents and, people that are kind of nudging us along. Mm-hmm. But as we get to be adults, unless we have like a really good boss or something, we lose that. Do
you still have your gang?
I don't have one right now. I may start something new. I had unfortunately, my goal buddy Margot died.
Oh man.
Yeah, she died about, I want to say 2 years ago now.
Oh wow.
She was a big part of my life. So I actually, based on my first book and my workshop that I wrote called Find a Way, had a 6-week workshop. I actually had a mastermind group that I ran for 12 years.
Wow.
We met once a month, and anybody who had taken my workshop could come to the group.
Nice.
So
tell us more. Tell us, how does your book end, or are you allowed to tell us like the ending part of your book? I mean, what is the end? What have you figured out as far as getting the life that you want? What is the most important thing, your biggest takeaway from your book?
It's just a combination of all those things. It's so there's no one, there's no magic, there's no one secret. It's all of those little things that add up to make your life more successful. And so
it's all these ingredients to make your own recipe.
Exactly. And you take a little from here, a little from there, and you kind of mix it all together, but the way it works for you. Because if it works for me, but you try my way, but it doesn't work for you, it's not going to be any good.
Exactly.
So you need to go at your own pace. For example, one of my friends wanted to be an engineer. And so he had a job at a company, but for 17 years, he went to night school and finally got his engineering degree.
Wow.
So at 51 years old, he got his engineering degree, but also he had 20 years experience as an engineer, doing that kind of stuff. So yeah, it just worked out. So
that works out incredibly.
Yeah. I think that whole very trite thing you hear, like, life's not a 100-yard dash, it's a marathon. I mean, it sounds corny, but it's true.
It's so true.
It is so true. And it's like, if you plan your life that way, you can take small steps consistently. And I think that's probably the secret for most people, not everybody, but to just have that steady moving forward. There's an old Chinese saying that says, it's not how slow you go that matters. It's only if you stop.
That's so true. And
And
is that why the turtle always wins?
I guess, I guess, but it's just, keep going. Pick yourself, I say in the book, F up, get up, and no matter how many times you do, but at the same time, that's why it's good to have your accountability partner or your mastermind group, because they're going to tell you sometimes, yeah, hey, you're on the wrong path here, dude. You need to, or you've been down this path too many times, or they know who you are and see who you are, and that's crucial.
Yeah, that's also really important, because most people don't listen to their immediate family members. But if you have an accountability group that call on your nonsense, that it's not just your family telling you something, then you really start to believe it.
Right. And I think if you have that group, you're committed to that. So you're committed to that process,
Yeah.
And if you're not, well, hey, you're not going to do it. So I think
Dennis?
that, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I think that, probably, again, the whole thing is not to like read my book or anybody's book. It's, you've got to start taking those small action steps, no matter how small. Remember, kisses.
Yeah, kisses for sure.
Kisses. And the last chapter is micro habits, which means, again, it's micro is small. Start small, stay small, but build.
I've taken so many notes today, thanks to you.
Well,
Dennis, what's something you want the world to know? Something you feel is really crucial and important?
They need to pay attention to everything in their life. Oh, one of the other things in the book is called the compound effect. So it ties into, everything compounds.
So true.
So I say in the book, count everything because everything counts.
Wow. Count everything because everything counts.
Because you think about it, if you say, well, my sales aren't very good, well, how many calls have you made this week? Or I'm fat. Well, how much exercise did you do? Numbers don't lie. Liars use numbers, but numbers don't lie. True. And so, I have a little index card, and every day it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4 slash. That's 30 squats. 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's on those cards. I have a stack of cards that thick with all of those slashes on it from those counting.
That's incredible.
And that's what you have to do. And the same thing when I'm doing my chest or my back or my whatever, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 slash 1, 2. I do 4 sets of 4.
I love that.
Sets of reps, but you have to count, because you can't lie when you count.
Right.
You can't, it's the truth.
Dennis, you have been an incredible motivator, and you've pumped me up for the rest of the week, probably for the rest of the year. Thank you so much for your energy. This has been amazing. You're amazing. How can our viewers, our watchers, and our listeners find you? They need to get a hold of you.
They can just go online to DennisMcCurdy.com, or they can find my book, Suck It Up, Cupcake, Stop Screwing Yourself and Get the Life You Want, on Amazon. It'll be in bookstores soon, but we're working on that process right now. I'm hoping to do an audio book before the end of the year.
Oh, that would be amazing. That would be excellent.
So, yeah. And I tell your viewers, if anybody reaches out to me, I will respond.
Oh, thank you. I believe it. I know you're a quick responder. Thank you so much for that, by the way.
Welcome. And so are you. So
yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So I was surprised to get your thing right just like that. I said, this is the guy I want to talk to. Thanks,
Dennis. And I'm glad we connected. We're forever connected now. Thanks so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Hello to the people in Massachusetts. And I hope you have an incredible fall that you're already starting up with. And yeah, we're definitely going to keep in touch.
And then when you let me know when you're going to come out.
Oh, yeah, I will. We'll definitely let you know, Dennis. I would love to meet you in person. That'd be awesome.
It's beautiful around here. We're not in the city. We're out in the country. So it's really nice and quiet, and a lot of wineries and things like that. So
I would love that. Dennis,
Yeah.
thank you so much. God bless
Thank
you,
you.
and we're keeping in touch.
All right.
Being on A Little Less Fear podcast. For all of you tuning in for the first time, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Follow me if you haven't yet already, and tell your friends and family. A Little Less Fear book is available on Amazon along with Amazon Kindle. Thanks so much, Dennis, and we'll keep in touch. Bye-bye.